You ever pick up a piece of paper and just know your life's about to get wild? That was me standing barefoot in my own hallway staring at a fake eviction notice still warm from the printer. The ink smelled like someone's panic, like toner and cheap perfume, and yeah, the kind of desperation you only see when someone's truly cornered. You ever had one of those mornings? Because let me tell you, that's how you know the universe is in a mood. So here's my little slice of American suburbia. I'm Henry Rivera. My wife Sarah and I, we thought we'd finally made it. Saved up, bought a house in this place called Sunset Ridge, quiet outside Phoenix. I'd busted my back for 20 years as an electrician until one day I literally busted my back. Herniated disc doctor's note, suddenly my tool belt got swapped for a heating pad, and a lot of maybe you should take it easy now, Henry. We put every dollar we had into this place, planning for a slower life, a little business in solar panels, nothing fancy, a place where I could breathe, you know. The neighborhood was classic. Old folks on porches, kids playing hockey in the street till the sky went purple. The air always smelled like someone grilling something mesquite chlorine sunscreen. Our HOA fees. $180 a month, and for a while all they did was trim bushes and replace broken pool chairs. Nobody power tripping. It was peace. Sarah especially loved the anonymity. She told people she worked downtown at the courthouse and let them fill in the blanks. She had to. Judges need privacy, especially federal ones. That's right, my Sarah. She presided over actual cases in the U.S. District Court for Arizona. But here she was, just Sarah from House 12B. And then came Brenda Kessler. Now, if you've never met a Brenda, count your blessings. She was fresh off a divorce, California plates, white Lexus, shiny enough to blind you. Never a hair out of place, never a drop of sweat, but always prowling around with a clipboard, and this look on her face like she could spot a non-compliant lawn from 3 blocks away. Let's talk about people with too much time. They find things to control, don't they? Within weeks, Brenda had talked the old board into making her president. Her first meeting lasted 4 hours. 4. The secretary's hand was shaking. Brenda loved enhanced standards, which sounded less like pick up your dog poop and more like she was planning military occupation. Suddenly, her heels clicking on the sidewalk became our neighborhood soundtrack. She'd find violations like Sherlock Holmes on Adderall. But here's what made my blood run cold. She zeroed in on 3 families right out of the gate. The Lucys, 8 years, no trouble. The Patels, big family, always laughter, a little too much parking, apparently a crime now. And us, the Riveras. Apparently the crime was owning a work truck. That's when it started fines for unauthorized commercial vehicles. I'd come out to find a slip on my windshield. It looked official, but when I actually read the bylaws, nothing. Absolutely nothing about commercial trucks in your own driveway. So I called Brenda. "Oh, Mr. Rivera," she said, syrupy sweet, "the board interprets community standards as needed." That word interprets. It stung. This wasn't about trucks, it was about power, about making sure people like me with a last name like mine knew our place. Sarah caught me ranting over solar panels. She listened quietly, asked a few pointed questions about process and oversight like she was winding up for something. I should have realized Brenda had just picked a fight with the wrong household. A couple weeks later, Brenda upped her game. New citation, lawn height violation. According to her, my grass was 2.75 inches, which, get this, was a 1/4 inch too tall. She'd attached time-stamped photos and claimed she'd used a calibrated measuring device. I stood in my boxers, coffee cooling in my hand, trying not to laugh. I mean, who buys a grass ruler? Who measures their neighbor's yard like they're prepping for the Olympic trials? But I knew a trick or two from years of dealing with inspectors. You beat bogus claims with real professionals. So I called Carlos Rodriguez, runs the landscaping for half the block. He took one look, measured the grass, and just started laughing. "Henry," she measured during drought stress. "Your lawn was actually barely 2 inches. He explained real professionals measure in 3 spots when the grass is hydrated. Brenda had literally overwatered her test spot to make it taller. That night something clicked for me. I dug into Arizona HOA law, real page-turner by the way. Turns out board elections have to be filed with the county clerk within 30 days, or they're not legal. If they're not legal, they can't collect fines. Guess whose paperwork was missing? Yeah, Brenda had never filed her certification. At this point, I'm documenting everything. Photos, timestamps, even little audio snippets. When Brenda came around, Sarah, my boring government worker wife, just nodded approvingly. "Always keep records, Henry. Might matter more than you think." God, I love that woman. Then one evening, Mrs. Lucy knocked eyes wide. "Henry, did you get citations too? Brenda says our cooking smells are culturally inappropriate for the neighborhood." That did it for me. The Lucy's stir-fry was the best part of my nightly walks. Now it was a violation. I called the Patels, and together we laid out our citations. Out of 43 fines in 6 months, 39 went to minority families. The rest white families, but for real things, oil stains, fences falling down. We were getting targeted for existing. Brenda, of course, decided I was the threat. She called an emergency board meeting to discuss my aggressive behavior. She scheduled it the same night Sarah was downtown for a court meeting. She must have thought she was clever. She turned the clubhouse into a courtroom, had supporters lined up, even missed inviting us problem residents. Lucky for me, Mrs. Lucy overheard and spread the word. When the meeting started, Brenda went off about my hostility, waving my lawn report around like it was a weapon. I kept calm, passed out the real bylaws, asked her to show me the rules I'd supposedly broken. "The board interprets standards based on the spirit of our covenant," she snapped. That's when Harold Lucy, the old treasurer, finally found his backbone. "Brenda, I've read these bylaws. There's nothing about trucks, lawns, or cooking." You could feel the mood shift. Brenda doubled down, accused me of illegal surveillance. I just laughed. "You mean my security cameras on my own house?" That's when Mrs. Lucy and the rest of our group walked in, papers in hand. "We checked with the county," she said, "and your board isn't certified. You have no authority to do anything." The silence was beautiful. But Brenda, she wasn't backing down. She threatened to take us to federal court to have us evicted. She actually said, "I'll use every legal resource to maintain standards." The phrase "you people" came out of her mouth. Even her fans squirmed. That night, Sarah listened to every word I repeated. She looked at Brenda's citations and just said, "If she really tries federal court, she's in for a surprise." She wouldn't elaborate. 3 days later, the real twist landed in my mailbox, a certified letter demanding that all non-compliant families adhere to enhanced standards or face federal legal consequences, including eviction. She threatened us using fake federal authority, promising court action based on rules she'd invented. She mailed identical threats to a dozen families, every single one of us on her blacklist. That's when we rallied. We hosted a meeting in our backyard. 18 families. Everyone with stories, citations for Diwali candles, for papel picado decorations, for foreign language, noise pollution. White families, nothing, not one. We compared Brenda's rules with the real HOA documents. Turns out 90% of her citations had zero legal basis. Then Mr. Patel, God bless that man, pulled out 6 months of financial records. Brenda's collected $4,800 in illegal fines, he said, and diverted maintenance funds to her own account. The air turned ice cold. We realized this wasn't just harassment. This was fraud. The next twist, Janet Peterson, one of Brenda's old supporters, showed up pale as a ghost. "Brenda's talking about final solutions for problematic residents," she whispered. She had a text from Brenda, found the optimal federal court strategy. Judge Rivera supports property values over disruptive elements. Filing eviction papers. Monday. My heart stopped. Brenda was planning to file fake cases targeting my wife's court using Sarah's name as a weapon. That night, Sarah stared at the evidence and just went still. "She thinks I'll support her," Sarah said. "She has no idea who she's messing with." For the first time, I saw my wife not as Sarah, my partner, but as Judge Rivera, the one with the power to bring hell down on Brenda's head. After that, everything moved fast. Sarah built the case, stacked the evidence, helped us prep surveillance. I installed cameras everywhere, taught neighbors to document every word, every threat. Arizona law's one-party consent. We had backup systems, shared drives, spreadsheets. It was like building a fortress. Brenda, meanwhile, started getting sloppy, asking people how to file real-looking federal court papers. She wanted her forgeries to look convincing. Shakespeare couldn't write irony like this. Monday morning, 6:17 a.m., caught in glorious 4K. Brenda tiptoed across my lawn, slid her masterpiece under our door. The fake court order was a work of demented art, case numbers that were just her birthday, a phony federal seal. Sarah's signature obviously traced from Google Images. The order said Judge Rivera had found my family in violation and was evicting us for federal housing noncompliance. She demanded $2,400 and threatened the marshals would be there in 72 hours. Following Sarah's instructions, I called the actual courthouse, played the terrified victim. The clerk checked no such case. If someone's forging federal documents, sir, you should call the FBI. It was too perfect. Then phone calls, Lucy's, Patel's, Gonzalez's. All got the same paper. Brenda had mass-produced forgeries and distributed them like Halloween candy. That afternoon, Brenda held a neighborhood meeting, waving her fake orders, crowing about her victory. What she didn't know was that the assistant U.S. attorney and Channel 12 News were both in the audience. And every word, every forged document was being recorded. You ever see a person self-destruct in slow motion? Brenda read out names, my family, Lucy's, Patel's, announcing our eviction for non-compliance, claiming Judge Rivera had personally ordered it. She bragged about her federal court research, how she'd studied Sarah's rulings. She literally confessed to premeditated fraud in front of a federal prosecutor, thinking she was about to be crowned HOA queen forever. The next morning, our doorbell rang. FBI Attorney Martinez, business suits, badges gleaming. Mr. Rivera, we'd like to discuss your wife's signature being forged on federal documents. Sarah, still in her judicial robes from court, invited them in. She showed every piece of evidence, every forgery, every illegal fine, every discriminatory threat. When they explained to her the scope of Brenda's crimes, Sarah's face went ice cold. She forged my name to terrorize my own neighbors, Sarah said, barely above a whisper. Arrest her. Today. That afternoon, the final meeting. Brenda thought it was going to be her big moment, a federal compliance celebration. She had certificates and even fake deportation notices. 89 neighbors, local news, and at the height of her speech, the FBI walked in. Brenda Kessler, you're under arrest for federal document fraud, impersonating a federal officer, and civil rights violations. Her face went from smug to gray. Then Sarah walked in, robe and all. You forged my signature and claimed I support racism. You're under arrest. Brenda's knees buckled. She whispered, You're Judge Rivera. Sarah nodded. I am. And you're done. The court case was a hurricane. Brenda pled guilty to 14 federal felonies, got 32 months in prison, 3 years probation, had to pay restitution. They seized her Lexus and her house to pay back families she'd hurt. National news picked it up, memes, interviews, think pieces on HOA, racism, and unchecked power. Meanwhile, our neighborhood changed. Mrs. Lucy was elected president, first order of business, a diversity council, fines refunded, block parties, real community kids learning to count in 3 languages at the pool. Sarah wrote a book, Fighting HOA Abuse, now used in law schools everywhere. And our street smells like stir-fry curry tamales and possibility. My truck stays parked right out front, solar panels sparkling in the Arizona sun. Sometimes you have to let evil dig its own grave just to remind the world that justice is alive and well. Let me ask you, what do you think? Where's the line between authority and tyranny? Have you ever faced someone like Brenda? I want to hear your story. How'd you handle it? Drop your thoughts below or share if you've ever stared down someone who thought they were above the law. Maybe justice needs more witnesses. Maybe next time it'll be your story we're all listening to.